Okay, so one of the problems that it has is that if I turn left and then I turn the steering wheel, bring the steering wheel back to center, it doesn't self-cancel. If I turn right, turn the wheel back, it does self-cancel. So something is amiss in the turn signal switch. I don't know what. I purchased a new turn signal switch, but in order to get to it, I need to remove the steering wheel. If I'm going to take this steering wheel off, I'm not going to put it back on because it's very ugly, it's very uncomfortable, it's very large, it's very up in my face. So I purchased this steering wheel to go in place of it. Now, in order to put this on, you need an adapter because there's no mounting hardware here at all. So
that's a Grant steering wheel?
This is a Grant steering wheel, yes. It's a replica of the factory Tough Wheel. So, we went to Summit Racing, purchased the kit to install it. While we were there, we found this Tough Wheel in their scratch and dent. I guess I should have unwrapped that ahead of time. This Tough Wheel is the leather version. It cost that much money.
So the camera's not working well enough to actually pick up the numbers on the Summit Racing price tag. The original price on that Grant steering wheel is $165, which, given the quality of a Grant steering wheel, is a bit too much in my opinion. But sitting in the scratch and dent section of Summit Racing after being returned for any reason or another, $60, which seemed like a bit of a steal at the time.
So we're going to go with a much more expensive Tough Wheel, put it on, and then return the other wheel that we bought, and probably buy new exhaust tips. So
Scratch and Dent is at Summit Racing in Talmadge, their international HQ, where everything that gets returned goes through there and gets discounted, or everything that they bring to various shows around the country.
First thing I should do is disconnect the battery. Not so much because I'm safety conscious, but rather I don't want the horn to beep. Okay, so I've already disconnected the battery so that I won't beep the horn. I've centered the steering wheel, and you'll notice that my steering wheel is dramatically to the right. Pop the horn button off. I'm going to mark the steering shaft straight up. So that I know where it is. Take the very loose nut off.
What size was that?
7/8. Now, when I say off, I don't mean off. Don't take it off. Because if you do take it off, steering wheel will fly off, knock your teeth out.
Speaking from experience there?
Thankfully, it wasn't me. I had a friend in high school. I won't say his name, but he was normally known as the person that wrecked more Camaros than I've owned cars, which at the time was saying a lot, not so much now. So, there is the turn signal mechanism. Begin by taking off the dash cover. 3 out of 4 screws are here. Not one of the screws matches one to the next.
Yeah, but they went to the effort to put 3 back in. That's more than I would do.
I've seen these on Facebook Marketplace. They're very expensive. I really don't want to break this one. Most of them say modified, and they have this ground out of them. This actually looks like a factory one.
Suppose the stripper models don't have the trim on the bottom of the steering column.
Could be. I don't know where that wire would go without it. Okay, so this is going to be much more complicated. Going to have to take the bottom support for the steering column out, but we can do that next. Let's see if we can get the switch loose. This has got 3 out of 3 screws, and they do all match. Yes, the wire's too tight. Okay, so I will have to get a wrench to remove all this. Okay, so I'm going to remove this lower bracket, which is preventing me from pulling the wires for the turn signal mechanism out.
And that's the brace that holds the whole thing to the dashboard.
Yes, it is. So it's going to be a lot more than just removing these. It might be, though, that once I get the column loose from it, I can push the column up a little bit, and that'll free up the wire. Let's take these out.
What are those holding on?
This ring right here is on top of the rest of the column. Down here, right here is where the ignition switch is. Then this is below that. This little plastic guide for the wires goes up inside, and I can't really tell where. I am glad now that we brought it way out into the driveway to do this, so that if we can't get it back together, it's way out here. Okay, I think I'm still in my own way. Gonna unplug the wire.
Okay.
Okay, so the plug did not want to come apart, but it has come apart.
Has it come permanently apart?
Well, at least the part we're throwing away has.
That's an interesting bunch of wiring dangling under the dash.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to remove the rest of this bracket out of the way. And that wrench is too big. Not 100% sure why, but the studs on this are about an inch longer than necessary. And it's really cold out, so my fingers aren't working. This will be a really good spot for a deep socket.
Too bad we left those at home. I guess. There might be some in the black toolbox.
This was the favorite grounding location. So there's 15 ground wires in the way. Yeah, so let's see if we can find it deep. Okay, so that should make it a lot easier. You think.
Should probably take a picture of the locations all those bolts. What? Grab the wrong size? Okay.
Okay. That's much better.
Yeah, apparently if you use the right size, it works.
Same size back there.
Is that not gonna fall down?
It won't fall completely down. It's still bolted into the firewall. At some point I should mention how much nicer and easier and more logical this is than working underneath the dash of the Gladiator.
What do you mean? That was easy. We just stuck Alan down there head first. Definitely better than the Corvette that I had to kind of stick Mason down through the roof.
Okay, so this is the bracket that holds it to the bottom of the dash. I think these are supposed to look like this, where they have these things holding the two pieces together. This was the cover guide track that I was talking about earlier.
Looks like it might need a little bit of glue to hold it back together.
Yes, it could probably use some reassembly. And now the wire is free.
Seems like they could have saved a lot of effort by just putting the plug up at the front.
Yeah.
But at least it's out now.
It's out now. I'm still not 100% convinced there's something wrong with it, but it doesn't work. So, let's put the screws back in that I did not need to remove.
That bezel was perfectly fine there and didn't need to be removed.
Yes. Can you help me at all to take those out? I can feel it. Oh, wait, here it comes. Or not. I don't really want to deal in the wet gravel. Kind of wondering now whether I should take those screws back out and whether it would make my life easier. I don't know where the screwdriver went.
It's right here.
Maybe it did.
I was just getting to the point where, like, do we go get fishing line and drag it through?
Okay, once again, put these back. Hope I have turn signals at all after this.
I mean, they were optional in the Beetle, weren't they?
Yeah.
Drove that car for, what, 3-4 years like that?
Yeah, hand signals worked okay. Okay, so earlier I was concerned about the fact that this is a very triangular taper, this is a very square end, and it doesn't seem to fit very nicely in there, but it fits exactly the same in the factory one, so it must be correct. Or maybe that's why my turn signals don't work.
Worst case scenario, we just take the rod back out and file it down until it fits.
Yes.
And then you're out whatever you spent on the turn signal.
Well, that has a seriously more positive click than it did before.
Seems like a good start.
Yes. Okay. So this wrapped over the top of the column. Down here. then the broken wire guide kept it in place.
Black wire that fell out down there.
It's a ground wire that grounds the column to the dashboard. So that goes in there.
Makes you kind of wonder why it's been all apart, given how complete of a car it seems to be. It's like, you can tell it's not like they had it apart to paint it. Because they just resprayed the outside.
Yeah.
Which is fine, they resprayed it the original color. That's going to leave us with just figuring out the adapter situation and putting the new wheel on.
Yes, and hopefully there's a trigger for the turn signal in the adapter.
You'd think a company like Grant that would be the case. Oh, cold.
Thank you.
That's a lot of little bits of stuff.
Turn signal cam.
Suppose that's the part
C
you're looking
note
for.
6. Okay. Okay, so it says to put the adapter on, making sure that the top lines up with the mark, which it does. And put the nut on. Tight. Position the post cover if provided. Yeah. And it says remove this because now the splines are pushed down. That makes sense. closed cover. Pull the wire through the steering wheel. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. Put this on to hold it still while I'm trying to do the other things. You can't do these on.
So now you're down to actually bolting the wheel down.
Kinda. So put the adapter on, I put the column sleeve on, I fished the horn wire through it. Yeah, and then I gotta back up.
You forgot to put the
I forgot to put the horn button on.
At least there's always something to forget.
Can't actually feel my fingers.
At least we weren't putting the cap on going, oh, we didn't put the horn off. You lose the bolt that quickly?
Yeah, I did. Can't grab the steering wheel.
Yeah, it's not really held on.
Okay.
Now we're getting the steering wheel button on. That has to go on before you actually bolt the wheel down.
Yes.
The leather wrapped wheel does look a lot better,
Yes, it does.
even than just the $150 regular plastic one.
See, to be fair, it doesn't actually talk about that, so. Because this has to go over the top.
And it gets held down presumably by those bolts.
Goes like that. Still can't feel my fingers.
guessing you're just going to have to tuck that wiring down further in the column.
It'll go under the horn button. Since I'm screwing this into just die-cast hot metal, make sure I don't cross-thread it.
Yeah, because we definitely don't have any taps here.
Well, there's that, and there's the... Then I gotta go pay another $29 for another one of these things.
You'd think a company like Grant would use more than just pot metal.
Yeah, and I did read in the comments that Grant used to be such a good company and blah blah blah. 40 years ago, when I put one of these on my Chevelle, it was exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Except they probably weren't making them in Vietnam and China then.
Probably not.
I think there was still an embargo, at least on Vietnam.
That's not gonna help any.
Now you're putting washers over top.
Look at that.
Or maybe not.
Okay, so there was no washer under this nut on the factory steering wheel.
Sure it's just as good as they used to be?
Didn't necessarily say they were good 40 years ago. I just said it's exactly the same as it was 40 years ago. Okay, much tighter than it was when I took it apart.
Now those are kind of purposely far up so the horn mechanism can spring up, correct?
Correct. These are shoulder bolts so that this can move. And this is an awesome part. You have to capture this underneath this.
What's it look like on the inside?
Totally flat and totally flat. So I think I might go find a piece of double-sided tape to hold that there long enough for me to get it stuck on there.
So getting into our opinions on the Grant steering wheel, it is a vast improvement from the stock steering wheel, and even from simply the plastic steering wheel. It looks completely right compared to a lot of the other kind of knockoff steering wheels. That being said, it also goes a long way towards your comfort while you're driving. Feels a lot better than the stock one. And you can really tell why it's been such a popular upgrade for most of our guys from the 60s on. That being said, the fit and finish on it isn't fantastic for the cost of it. I'd like to see something better, but there isn't really a lot of competition other than the Grant, and certainly original ones cost vast amounts of money, and that's unfortunately where the market for them is right now.
Moving on to our next fix for the car, the ducting for the heat in this car was originally made out of paper and probably returned to the earth a long time ago. What this means is there's no defrost or any other kind of heat. It makes it very hard to drive the car, especially in early spring when some days are cold and you might need defrost. You can see in the picture that there are several vent holes in the heater box, as well as ones up above it in the dashboard. This is where the original heater hose is attached. They were originally made out of coiled steel, essentially a big spring that was wrapped in paper. Obviously not something meant to last 50 plus years. So how we got around fixing that, as you can see, is we bought new plastic ducting. This needs to be cut in order to fit, but it makes it really easy to buy large lengths of it and do an entire car. These particular hoses came from Vintage Air, which is pretty much the name brand when it comes to this sort of thing, but surprisingly not very expensive, about $7.99 for a couple of feet of ducting. One issue with the fitment was that the holes in the dash and the holes in the heater core were not perfectly the same size. Not sure if that is something out of the factory or just due to them warping over years of use, but we had to make a bit of an adapter out of some PVC piping. Put a little bit of duct tape on either end of it just to ensure that there was a good seal when it came to actually putting the ducting on it. As you can see, it fit well in the heater box and allowed us to route the ducting without any real issues. And with those two ducts attached and functional, it allowed us to have heat for probably the first time in quite a few years on this car.